The sky was dark and full of stars when the alien ship landed just outside the town of Riverside. It was big, black, and shaped like a triangle. People from all over the world had come to see it. No one knew what would happen next. Some were excited, some were scared, but everyone was watching. In a small house not far away, Lila Bennett sat at her desk looking at a broken machine. She was 17 years old, with brown hair tied back and hands that never seemed to stop moving. She liked machines. She liked taking them apart and putting them back together. Sometimes she even made things from parts no one else wanted. Her older brother Dan walked into the room holding a tablet. "You should watch this," he said. "They're meeting the aliens today." Lila looked at the screen. On it, a group of humans stood beside tall, green-skinned beings with sharp eyes and long limbs. They called themselves the Virex. They had come to Earth to talk, or so they said. The humans tried to be polite. The Virex did not seem impressed. Back at the landing site, the head Virex, a warrior named Zayal Thor, stepped forward. His voice was cold and loud. "Your kind is weak," he said. "You have no strength, no real power. We do not understand why you think you are ready to speak with us." A young woman in a military uniform stepped up. "We may not be as advanced as you," she said, "but we are smart. We work hard. We deserve respect." Zalthor looked at her and laughed. Then he pointed at someone behind her. It was Lila. She had been invited to the event because she had helped fix a damaged alien device found near a crashed satellite months ago. No one expected much from her. She wasn't a soldier, she wasn't famous. She was just a girl who liked machines. Zal Thor tilted his head and looked down at her. "This one?" he asked. "This is the best you have? A child, a weak girl with no armor, no weapons, no strength?" Some of the other Virex laughed too. Lila felt heat rise to her face. She wanted to disappear. But she stayed still. She looked up at him and said nothing. He took a step closer. "Do you even know how to fight?" he asked. Lila finally spoke. "No," she said. "I don't." The Virex laughed again. "Then you are nothing," Zalthor said. "You are not worth our time." The video feed cut to news anchors across the world. They talked about what had happened. Some called it an embarrassment for humanity. Others said Lila should not have been there in the first place. On social media, people made fun of her. Memes showed her hiding behind a robot. Videos made her look silly. The Virex had mocked her, and now the whole world seemed to be laughing with them. Back home, Lila sat quietly in her room. Dan came in and sat beside her. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Just tired." He looked at her. "You didn't do anything wrong, you know." "Doesn't feel like it," she said. He smiled. "Sometimes people don't see what's right in front of them." Lila looked at the broken machine in her hands. She turned it over. Inside, something clicked. She had been working on it for days. It looked like junk to most people. But she had seen something different. She had found a piece of alien tech hidden inside it. A small, glowing chip. She didn't know where it came from, but she had started to study it. Dan watched her. "What is that thing anyway?" "A mystery," she said. "And maybe a chance." Meanwhile, back at the alien ship, Zalthor stood on a high platform and looked out at the town below. He spoke to another Virex. "Humans are soft," he said. "They will fall easily. But they are clever," the other replied. Zalthor laughed. "Clever. They sent a girl to meet us, a girl who could not even look me in the eye." Far away, in her small room, Lila plugged the alien chip into her computer. Lights blinked. Data began to move across the screen. She leaned in close. "Let's see what you can do," she whispered. And for the first time since the world laughed at her, Lila smiled. Lila sat at her desk with the alien chip plugged into her computer. Lines of glowing symbols scrolled across the screen. She had no idea what most of it meant, but she could see patterns forming. It was like a language that almost made sense. Dan watched from behind her chair. "What is it saying?" he asked. "Not sure yet," Lila said. But this isn't just data. It's instructions. Maybe even a program. She typed fast, trying to understand how the alien code worked. After hours of trial and error, she found something strange, a hidden command. When she clicked on it, a small window opened. Inside was a map. Dan leaned closer. Is that Earth? Lila zoomed in. There were blinking dots all over the planet. Some were near big cities. Others were in remote places like deserts and oceans. Those aren't random, she whispered. They're placed with purpose. Meanwhile, back at the alien ship, Zalthor stood with his officers. They were reviewing footage from the meeting with the humans. We have learned enough, Zalthor said. They are not ready for us. We will begin Phase 1 soon. One of the Virex stepped forward. Sir, what about the girl? The one you mocked? Zalthor laughed. Her? She is nothing. Barely worth remembering. He turned away. Send the signal. Let the drones awaken. On Earth, people believed the aliens came in peace. But beneath the surface, the Virex were already preparing for war. The next morning, Lila met her best friend Mia outside school. Mia was tall, wore glasses, and never talked much unless she had something important to say. You okay? Mia asked. Lila nodded. Still thinking about that chip. Did you find anything useful? Maybe, Lila said. But I need more time. Mornings passed into afternoons. Days became nights. Lila kept working. Dan helped when he could. Slowly, they figured out more about the chip. It wasn't just a map. It was a control system. It's linked to something, Lila said. Something big. Then, late one night, something changed. A loud noise filled the sky. Everyone looked up. A bright light flew overhead and crashed into the forest near Riverside. People ran to see what it was. Lila grabbed her tools and ran too. When she arrived, she saw it. A broken drone. It was alien. Its body was cracked open and wires stuck out like broken bones. Most people would walk away. Not Lila. She got close and saw something glowing inside. Another chip. Without hesitation, she pulled it out. Back home, she connected it to her computer. This one was different. It had live data, movement, signals. She stared at the screen. This isn't just a drone, she said. It's part of a network. Dan looked confused. What kind of network? Lila pointed at the blinking dots from before. These aren't just markers. They're machines. Hundreds of them, hiding under cities. Waiting. For the first time, Dan looked scared. Waiting for what? Lila didn't answer right away. She kept looking through the files until she found a command labeled Activation Sequence. Her heart beat faster. They're going to attack, she said softly. Soon. Dan took a step back. How do you know? Because this chip just sent a message to every other one like it, she said, and the message says begin. Outside, the wind blew through the trees. Somewhere far away, silent machines woke up. Lila looked at her brother. We have to warn someone. Dan nodded. Who? She thought for a second. Then she remembered someone from the meeting, Commander Elliot Harper. He had been watching her closely. Unlike the Virex, he hadn't laughed. Him, she said. Dan frowned. You think he'll believe us? Lila closed her laptop and stood up. We'll find out. The next day they sent a message. They didn't know if anyone would read it. They didn't know if anyone would care. But they had started something now. And once the truth was out, there was no turning back. Lila waited by the window, watching the sky. She had sent the message to Commander Elliot Harper 2 days ago. No reply yet. Dan tried to calm her down. Give it time, he said. If he saw what we saw, he'll come. Mira sat at the table, looking at the alien chip again. She had connected it to a small robot she built from old parts. Now the robot moved on its own, copying the commands from the chip. "This is just the start," she whispered. Then, late that night, the doorbell rang. Dan opened the door. A man stood outside. He wore a dark coat and had short hair. His eyes were serious. "Are you Lila Bennett?" he asked. She stepped forward. "Yes." He looked at her carefully. "I'm Commander Elliot Harper. I received your message." They invited him inside. He sat at the table and looked at the screen where the blinking dots still showed the hidden drones. "You're telling me these machines are already under our cities?" he asked. Lila nodded. "And they're waiting for a signal. When they get it, they'll attack." Harper looked at Dan, then back at Lila. "How did you find this out?" She pointed to the broken drone she had found. "It fell near here. I pulled the chip out, I studied it, and I figured it out." Harper was quiet for a moment. Then he sighed. "We've seen signs, strange readings, missing satellites, but we didn't know why. Until now." He looked at them both. "You may have just saved millions of lives." Dan smiled. "So you believe us?" Harper nodded. "Yes, and I think we can stop this. But we need a plan." Lila leaned forward. "We don't just need to stop them. We need to fight back." The next day, Harper took them to a hidden base not far from Riverside. It was underground, filled with soldiers, scientists, and big screens showing maps of the world. "This is the United Earth Defense Command," Harper told them. "We work to protect our planet from threats like this." Lila looked around. "Can we show them what we found?" Harper led them to a large room where other officers sat. He explained everything. The drones, the map, the activation signal. Some of the officers looked surprised. Others looked doubtful. "You expect us to believe a teenage girl figured out more than our best tech teams?" one officer asked. Lila stepped forward. "Yes." There was silence. Finally, another officer spoke. "What do you suggest we do?" Lila turned on her laptop. "We use their system against them. I can hack into it. If I change the signals, I can make the drones think they're getting orders from the Virex, when really they're following mine." Everyone looked at her. Harper smiled. "That's bold." "But possible?" she asked. He nodded. "If you can pull it off." "Then let's try," she said. For the next few days, Lila worked nonstop. She rewrote code, changed signals, and tested her new program on captured drone chips. Dan and Mia helped her, making sure everything worked. Finally, the plan was ready. They would send a fake command to all the hidden drones. Instead of attacking humans, they would turn on the Virex ships above New York. "This could work," Harper said, "but it has to be perfect." Lila looked at the screen. "It will be." On the day of the attack, the Virex ships hovered over the city. Thousands of people watched from the streets, not knowing what was about to happen. From the base, Lila typed the final command. "Now or never," she whispered. She pressed enter. Far above, the hidden drones woke up. But this time, they didn't follow the Virex. They followed her, one by one. They rose from beneath the ground, buildings and water. They flew straight at the enemy ships. The Virex were caught off guard. Their ships started falling from the sky. Cial Thor watched from his command deck. His eyes widened. "What is happening?" His officer looked at the data. "The drones, they are not ours anymore. Someone has taken control," Zalthor growled. "Who?" Back on the ground, Lila watched as the first ship exploded. Dan put a hand on her shoulder. "You did it." Mira shook her head. "Not yet." She looked up at the stars. "This is only the beginning." The Virex were angry. Their ships had been destroyed over New York. They had not expected it. They had not planned for it. Now, they wanted revenge. Zal Thor stood on his command ship high above Earth. His eyes burned with rage. He looked at the screen showing footage from the city. The drones, once meant to crush humanity, had turned against them. "Find out who did this," he growled. "I want them found. I want them broken." Back on the ground, Lila sat in the underground base. She was tired. Her hands still shook, from what she had done. Dan sat beside her, watching her closely. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Just thinking." "About what?" "That she had changed everything. That she had taken control of machines built by an alien race and used them against those same aliens. It felt like a dream." Commander Harper walked into the room. His face was serious. "We have a problem," he said. "The Virex are preparing to strike back. Hard." Lila looked up. "How?" Harper pulled up a map on the screen. Red lines moved across the planet. Satellites showed dozens of enemy ships entering Earth's orbit. "They're bringing more ships," he said. "Bigger ones. If they reach the surface, we won't be able to stop them." Dan frowned. "Then we hit them before they land." Lila thought for a moment. "We can't just fight them here, we need to go to them." Harper looked surprised. "You mean space?" She nodded. "If we wait, they'll destroy everything. But if we attack first, we might stand a chance." Harper rubbed his chin. "There may be a way. We recovered one of their shuttles after the drone attack. It's damaged, but flyable." Dan looked at Lila. "You're not seriously thinking of going up there?" She met his eyes. "I am." He sighed. "Of course you are." That night, Lila, Dan, Mia, and Harper got ready. They would board the stolen shuttle and fly into orbit. Their goal: get inside the Virex mothership and disable its command system before it could order the attack. Mira stayed behind to help coordinate from the ground. "This is crazy," Dan muttered as they stepped onto the shuttle. "Maybe," Lila said. But so were they. The engines roared to life. The shuttle lifted off, breaking through the clouds and into the black sky. Space was silent. Stars filled the darkness. Far ahead, the massive Virex mothership loomed like a monster. "Looks bigger up close," Mia said. "Feels bigger," Dan added. Harper took control. "We're approaching docking range, time to get inside." They landed on a side hatch. Lila opened the door carefully. Alarms were silent. No guards in sight. "Strange," Harper whispered. "They should know we're here." They crept inside. The ship was strange, made of metal and something else, something alive. Walls pulsed with light. Machines moved on their own. Lila pointed forward. "That way. Command deck is near the center." As they moved deeper, they saw signs of the Virex's power. Weapons labs captured human tech and cages where prisoners had been kept. "They've been planning this for a long time," Harper said. Then suddenly footsteps echoed down the hall. Virex soldiers. Dan grabbed Lila's arm. "Hide." They ducked behind a row of machines. The soldiers passed, speaking in their sharp, clicking language. Once they were gone, Lila breathed again. "We need to move faster." They finally reached the command deck. Lila ran to the main console. Wires and screens covered the walls. She connected her small device to the core system. "What are you doing?" Mia asked. "Trying to take control," Lila said. "If I can change their signal, we can make them think they lost the battle." "Maybe." Lila's fingers flew across the keyboard. Lights blinked on the alien console as she tried to take control of the Virex command system. Dan stood behind her, watching the door. Mia checked their gear. Harper kept his gun ready. "How much longer?" Dan asked. "Almost there," Lila whispered. "But if they find us now, it's over." Far above Earth, the remaining Virex ships were preparing to attack. Cities around the world had gone dark. People waited for the end. Back on the ship, Zayal Thor stormed through the halls. He had learned who was responsible for the drone betrayal. It was the girl. The one he had mocked. The one he had called weak. He growled, "Find her. Kill her." Inside the command deck, Lila finally broke into the system. Lines of alien code scrolled past her eyes. She found what she was looking for, the central control switch. "I can shut it all down," she said, "but I need time." Dan looked at the hallway. Footsteps were getting closer. "We don't have time," he said. Harper stepped forward. "Then we hold them off." Mira's voice came through their comms. "We've got movement on your floor. You've been found." The door, burst open. Virex soldiers poured in, weapons raised. Dan and Mia fired first. Harper moved fast, taking cover behind a console. Lasers lit up the room. Smoke filled the air. "Hurry, Lila," Mia shouted. Lila typed faster. Sweat dripped from her face. She found the command, "Terminate override." She pressed enter. Nothing happened. "Come on," she muttered. "Work." Outside, the sky turned red. The Virex fleet began to fall apart. Some ships stopped moving. Others turned on each other. On the command screen, a message appeared in glowing letters. "System override successful." Lila smiled. Yes. Then, the console exploded. She was thrown backward. Her ears rang. Smoke filled her lungs. Dan ran to her. "Are you okay?" he asked. She coughed. "Think so." They helped her up. The room was a mess. Virex bodies lay on the floor. Harper limped, but was still standing. "Good job," he said. "But we're not done yet." They needed to get out. Zal Thor arrived just as they reached the exit. He was bigger than before, wearing armor that glowed red. His eyes burned with hate. "You think you won," he growled. "You are wrong." He raised his weapon. Lila stepped forward. "You looked at me and saw nothing," she said. "That was your mistake," he charged. Dan fired. Mia threw a grenade. Harper tackled him. Zal. Thor crashed into a wall. His armor cracked. He roared in pain. Lila grabbed a piece of broken machine. She didn't know what it was, only that it was hot and glowing. She threw it at him. It hit his chest. Sparks flew. His armor short-circuited. He fell to his knees. "Humans are not weak," Lila said. "You just never listened." Zal Thor let out a final growl. Then he collapsed. They ran. Alarms blared. The ship was falling apart. They sprinted through the halls, dodging falling metal and fire. Finally, they reached the shuttle. They jumped inside. "Go!" Harper shouted. The engines roared. The shuttle launched just as the mothership exploded behind them. A shockwave pushed them forward. The sky lit up. Back on Earth, people watched in awe as the enemy ships stopped fighting. Without command, they drifted aimlessly. Some tried to escape. Most simply surrendered. The war was over. In the hospital weeks later, Lila sat up in bed. Bandages covered her arms. Dan sat beside her. "You did it," he said. "You really did it." She smiled. "We did it." Commander Harper walked in. He looked tired but proud. "You changed everything," he said. "The Virex are retreating. They're even talking about peace." Lila looked out the window. The sky was blue again. "They thought humans were weak," she said. "They were wrong." Dan laughed. "Yeah, well, don't tell them that next time." Harper nodded. "Thank you, Lila. Thank you all." As he left, Mia walked in holding a tablet. "You're famous," she said, showing a news headline. "Teenage hero saves Earth." Lila shook her head. "I'm not a hero. You are to them." She looked at the stars again. "Maybe one day. I'll go out there," she said. "See what else is waiting." For now, though, she was home. And the universe would never underestimate humanity again. Months passed since the war ended. The sky was clear again. No alien ships hovered above. No fear filled the streets. People smiled more. They walked outside without looking up in worry. Lila Bennett had become a name known across the world. Some called her a hero. Others called her lucky. But most just called her brave. She didn't care about titles. She didn't want fame. All she wanted was to get back to what she loved. Building things, fixing machines, learning new things every day. Dan stayed close. He still looked out for her like he always had. Mia went back to school, but kept in touch. Commander Harper was promoted but made time to visit when he could. The Virex were gone, at least for now. They had retreated, their pride broken. They sent messages asking for peace. Not because they wanted it, but because they feared what humans might do next. One morning, Lila stood outside her house in Riverside. The sun was warm. Birds flew overhead. She looked at the sky and smiled. Thinking about space again? Dan asked, walking up beside her. Maybe, she said. Just wondering what else is out there. He laughed. You're never going to stop, are you? She shook her head. Not if I can help it. Inside the house, her workshop was full of half-built machines and old parts. One table held a small robot that moved on its own. Another had pieces of alien tech she was still trying to understand. Her laptop sat open. News played on the screen. First, official meeting between Earth and the Virex delegation. Lila watched as diplomats from around the world stood beside tall, green-skinned aliens. Zal Thor was gone. His defeat had weakened his rule. Now, a new leader spoke for the Virex. They bowed slightly to the human leaders. We were wrong, the Virex leader said. Humans are not weak. You have earned our respect. Lila smiled. Dan leaned over. They finally got it. She nodded. Yeah, better late than never. Later that day, a message came through her inbox. It was from the United Earth Defense Command. They offered her a job, a real one, working with scientists, engineers, even astronauts. They want me to join them, she told Dan. He looked at the screen. So? What did you say? I haven't replied yet. He raised an eyebrow. Wait, really? She shrugged. I don't know if that's what I want. He looked surprised. What? Come on. You helped save the planet. You should be part of what comes next. Maybe, she said, but not like this. He sighed. Then what? She looked around her small town. Kids rode bikes down the street. Parents worked in gardens. Life had returned to normal. I want to build something, she said. Something that helps people, not just soldiers, not just governments. Everyone. Dan smiled. You've already done that. I want to do more. Weeks later, she opened a small school near her home. It wasn't big. It didn't need to be. Inside, tables lined the walls. Computers sat ready. Tools hung on hooks. Kids came from all over. Boys and girls who liked to build, to fix, to learn. Many had been told they weren't smart enough, that they didn't matter. Lila showed them otherwise. Strength isn't about size, she told them on the first day. It's about what you do with what you have. Some would grow up to be scientists. Others would be inventors, maybe even explorers. And somewhere far away, the stars still watched. On a quiet night, Leela sat alone in her workshop. She looked at a piece of alien tech in her hands. It glowed softly. She didn't know where it came from. She only knew it was waiting to be understood. She smiled. Let's see what you can do. Outside, the wind blew gently through the trees. The world was safe again. The universe had learned something new. Never underestimate a human, especially not one like Lila.